The best way to explain our world is through the experience of our friend Temple. She was on her own from the beginning, having been an orphan before the outbreak. She traveled around with her maybe brother Malcolm for years until she found herself alone. It took her a long time to tell us about his death. She lived in a lighthouse for a long time, living off of the fish the water provided, until the slugs started making their way over. From there, she traveled back to land, hotwired a car, like her uncle taught her, and went on a hunt for cheese, crackers, and a new adventure. Her dream was always to land in Niagara Falls. She mostly just drove around until Lewis found her, though. That was the first glimpse at a modern civilization she had seen. That's through chapters 3 and 4. They made their name in 4 connected office buildings, and upon arriving, she was well taken care of by Ruby. Ruby came in handy when Abraham, the creep that helped her into the neighborhoods, attempted to rape her, leading to Temple accidentally murdering him and shoving a pen into his brain to keep him from changing. Ruby rushed her into a car and sent her off so that she could get a head start running from her new pursuer for life, Abraham's brother, Moses. On this drive is when she encountered Lee and his group of hunters along a deserted road. She told us one time that this was her first time eating a slug. Lewis had showed her how. When she woke up and headed out again, she witnessed a man carrying a woman on the side of the road. After she decided to take on Maury as a companion, it didn't take her long to realize he was mentally handicapped. Still on the run from Moses, they drove by a row of increasingly fancy houses, and that's when they spotted the fully fenced Grierson mansion. That's through chapter 6. Intrigued by its grandness and stature in their dystopian world, she parked the car and was let in by the house's butler. Her and Maury were well taken care of by James and Richard, and the head of the house, their grandma Edna. It would have been nice for them to stay there, but many things led to Temple leaving. She found a note in Maury's pocket with an address to drop him off at. She also discovered the Griersons were keeping a zombie, James and Richard's dad, in the mansion basement in a cage. What put her over the edge was the reappearance of Moses at the house. Moses went to the house.
Oh, right.
Yeah. She and the sons helped to tie him up, and then Temple and Maury darted away with the promise that Moses wouldn't harm the family as long as he was released by the next morning. So they set off west to get Maury home. While they were driving, Temple told us she saw these huge monster-like people. She, being her nosy self, got out of the car and left Maury there to investigate. She described them as horrid, ugly beings. They captured her and Maury both and threw them in jail cells so that their leader, Mama, could assess them. They called themselves the inheritors of the earth. Temple said they reported being way older than any human life could be, all thanks to a type of injection that they took. Shortly after meeting Mama, they discovered Moses had tracked them down again to here as well. He got thrown into a cell right away too. They found Temple and Maury worthy, but when they tried to inject Maury, Temple went on a frantic killing spree. She escaped with Maury on foot after a confrontation with Moses, where they established he was tracking her by the tracker on the car she was given from the neighborhoods. She left Moses with a weapon to give him a fighting chance with the angry inheritors, and they bolted for the nearest road. They followed the train tracks for a while, just chatting, when Temple mostly talked to herself, before the train pulled up beside them. That's when she met Wilson and the rest of the train crew hunting for survivors. They became friendly, and the train brought them all the way to a civilization called Longview. The people there were kind. She even went on a date with a boy there named Dirk. She couldn't bring herself to leave Maury alone, so he came on the date too. She hadn't experienced something that close to life before the outbreak before. It was here that she was given her final car and a map to help her navigate the roads she cannot read. With Maury in the passenger seat, they reached the address pretty quickly. She had assumed it would be empty, but felt she was in the presence of a miracle when she saw a warm light like a fire coming from inside the home. They went inside and she discovered an untouched home with no signs of everyday life, but the static TV was turned on and there was a fire burning in the living room. Maury knew the home. She remembered him darting to the toy he had left there once. She found his relatives, Mr. and Mr. Duchamp, in their bed, dead from a purposeful overdose years ago. As she examined them, she was startled by the most dreaded voice she knew. Moses had found her again. After forcing her to sit across from him, she learned that he had read the address in Maury's pocket, and that's how he had finally found her. He explained that he had escaped from the inheritors, and it was no easy battle, but the young one, Millie, had come with him there. They talked about how the world was different before and how Temple liked it just fine because she had never known another way. Then he attempted to shoot her in the head to fulfill the duty he had to his brother. Temple dodged it by ramming her head into him and sprinting out of the door. Before she left the house, she spotted Maury in his home and felt that she maybe had found the redemption she had been seeking throughout all of the people that she had killed, and released some of the evil she felt inside of her heart. She led Moses away from the house and came upon Millie in the yard. Temple felt that something wasn't right in her body, and that's when she realized the little inheritor had shot her. As she was dying, she recalled all of the memories from her time with Malcolm to the good times that she had along with Maury. That's when her story ended. Millie was shot as well for upsetting the balance and killing the girl that was Moses's to kill. Moses buried her as the honest thing to do and set out again with Maury in tow towards Niagara Falls. And so that was our summary of basically the entire book and what happened.
Good job, you killed your sister.
Yeah.
That was unintentional.
On the back of all the cards, some of them are just flat characters and the other ones have archetypes and whether they were conventional or unconventional with the genre. With the archetype. And then we have these fancy boxes that, do you want to explain the symbols?
Sure. Okay, so the caution symbol, like the yellow triangle with the exclamation point is an exclamation point is means conventional. The danger signs means unconventional, and then our little zombies are archetypes.
Okay, so we decided that it was mostly unconventional because, as you can see, the visual, there's more danger signs than the caution signs. So we have some quotes to back it up. So our first one described that it was conventional with the genre because the description of the zombie, like they walk, some of them in twos, they're ugly, and then, that's a different check. But, so that shows that like, it's pretty conventional, like all the zombies look the same throughout the genre. Conventional also was the fact that she had difficulty with killing, and not at first, but once she realized that it was a problem, she like settled down. And she tells of bringing down the Gurkha blade, hungry for death. She feels guilty about it now. And then on page 38, how the zombies die is pretty conventional because she put the top of the pen in the nostril to keep him from coming back. On 181, it is conventional because throughout the zombie genre, the zombie horror, they always have a companion, like they're usually never alone, even if it's just like an animal. But she was talking about Maury this time, and this is when she went on the date, and it says they walk to dinner, but she refuses to leave him. And then we said that what was really unconventional about the book is how many plot twists there were. So we got one for page 192, 190, 181, 180, 212, 213. And it's just all of the different plot twists between like how she was disturbed because of Malcolm, her brother had died in front of her, and like we weren't seeing that coming, the violence with Abraham and Moses, and how Moses like kept finding her. The inheritors, which was like a weird twist, like those don't usually show up in zombie books. I don't know what those things were. And then, another unconventional thing was that usually the world is like deserted and there's like really few survivors, but in ours there was like whole civilizations and you just had to like go and like look for them. Like she preferred to be on her own, so she was like alone or alone with Maury most of the time, but like if she was looking for a civilization, they were really easy to find, like the neighborhoods in Longview that they took the train to. And on page 185, it says, "Come with me to California instead, ... There's a huge civilization there restored." So,
What about the characters?
oh
like,
yeah, so,
Our main character was unconventional, and we said Temple does not fit the profile of the average hero. She is a 15-year-old girl with a background of being an orphan with social and emotional issues.
Then we have kind of like, he's like the villain, Moses. He like follows her throughout the whole book because Temple killed his brother, and he didn't really want to because in the beginning they were kind of friends, but since she killed his brother, it was kind of like his code. And he's conventional because he struggles, follows, and attempts to harm the main character, Temple, throughout the entire story.
And then for Maury, his archetype is going to be the damsel, and it's kind of unconventional because one, he's a boy and not a girl. And it's like the usual description of a damsel is typically a helpless woman, not a middle-aged, abandoned, mentally handicapped man. So it's definitely unconventional.
And it was kind of like these two were like the factors of it. Like she was not only running from the slugs, but she was worried about Maury, and then worried about Moses, and then worried about Maury. It's kind of like.
and we saw like a huge thing between her and Maury was that she was always looking for redemption, like consciously or unconsciously. Like she would do things and then be like, "Oh, I don't want him here," and then take him anyway. Like she felt a sense of guilt about all of the people that she had killed. And then Jeremiah passed around the note cards that showed if it was artistic or generic. You got them all? Okay, and I think we decided that it was mostly generic, or mostly artistic. Oh yeah, it was 4-3. And you guys read these all right? You all got to see them? Okay, Ms. Shikely, did you want them?
I would love to see
Okay.
And then are we gonna go to the PC?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and we also have.
This is the Reapers and the
These are
Angels.
the angels.
Do we?
Oh, yeah, how do we?
If you need to turn it back on, just press baby mute, it's the other one. It's in the bottom corner.